Dear students, today in Organ and Organ Systems in Animals Part 1, we are going to talk about the introduction to the earthworm, morphology and anatomy, digestive system, respiratory system, circulatory system, nervous system, excretory system, reproductive system, regeneration of the earthworm and life cycle of the earthworm. From microbes to the blue whale, organisms occur in different sizes and shapes with well-organized organ and organ systems. The basic tissues organize to form an organ, which in turn associates to form the organ systems in multicellular organisms. Such an organization is essential for efficient and better coordinated activities of millions of cells constituting an organism. Morphology refers to the study of the form or externally visible features. The word anatomy is used for the study of the internal organs in the animals. We will deal here with the morphology and anatomy of the invertebrates represented by the earthworm and cockroach and the vertebrates represented by the frog. Earthworm, the zoological name Lampetomoriti, classification phylum Annelida, class Oligochaetae, order Haplotaxida, genus Lampeto and species Moriti. Earthworm is a terrestrial invertebrate that inhabits the upper layers of the moist soil rich in decaying organic matter. It is nocturnal and during the day it lives in the burrows made by the burrowing and swallowing the soil. In gardens, they can be traced by their fecal deposits known as worm castings on the soil surface. Earthworms are considered as the friends of farmers. The common Indian earthworms are Lampetomoriti, synonym Megascolex moriti, Perionyx excavators, and Metaphyr posthuma, synonym Ferritima posthuma. Earthworms are also conveniently classified based on their ecological strategies as epigigs, anixics, and endogigs. Epigigs, the Greek word for up on the earth. They are surface dwellers. Example, Perionyx excavators and Eudrilus eugene. Anixics, Greek for outer layer of the earth. They are found in the upper layers of the soil. Example, Lampetomoriti, Lumbricus terrestris. Endogigs, it's a Greek word for within the earth, are found in the deeper layers of the soil. Example, Octochetona thurstoni. In the image on the right side, you can see the epigigs. They are called phytophagus. Below you can see the anixics, which are called geophytophagus. The worms in the deeper layers of the soil are called endogigs. They are called geophagus. Morphology, Lampetomoriti is commonly found in Tamil Nadu. It has a long and cylindrical narrow body which is bilaterally symmetrical. Lampetomoriti is 80 to 210 mm in length with a diameter of 3.5 to 5 mm. And is light brown in color with purplish tinge at the anterior end. This color of the earthworm is mainly due to the presence of the porphyrin pigment. The body of the earthworm is encircled by a large number of grooves which divides into a number of compartments called the segments or metameres. Lampetomoriti consists of about 165 to 190 segments. The dorsal surface of the body is marked by a dark mid-dorsal line which is due to the dorsal blood vessel along the longitudinal axis of the body. The ventral surface is distinguished by the presence of the genital openings. The mouth is found in the center of the first segment of the body called the peristomium. Overhanging the mouth is a small flap called the upper lip or the prostomium. The last segment has the anus called the pygidium. In mature worms, segments 14 to 17 may be found swollen with a glandular thickening of the skin called the clitellum. This helps in the formation of cocoon. Due to the presence of clitellum, the body of the earthworm is divided into three parts. Preclitellar, which is from the 1st to the 13th segment, clitellar, which is from the 14th to the 17th segment, and the postclitellar, which is after the 17th segment. In all the segments of the body except the first, last and the clitellum, there is a ring of chitinous body setae. This body setae arises from a setigerous sac of the skin and it is curved as S-shaped. Setae can be protruded or retracted and their principal role is in locomotion. The external apertures are the mouth, anus, dorsal pores, spermathecal openings, genital openings, and nephrodiopores. The dorsal pores are present from the 10th segment onwards. The coelomic fluid communicates to the exterior through these pores and keeps the body surface moist and free from harmful microorganisms. Spermathecal openings are 3 pairs of small ventrolateral apertures lying intersegmentally between the grooves of the segments 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and 8 to 9. A pair of female genital apertures lie on the ventral side in the 14th segment, and a pair of male genital apertures are situated lateroventrally in the 18th segment. Nephrodiopores are numerous and found throughout the body of the earthworm, except a few anterior segments through which the metabolic wastes are eliminated. In this image, you can see on the left side the entire worm, which shows the prostomium, the clitella region, the anus. The image on the right side, B, which shows the dorsal view, you can see the prostomium, peristomium, the dorsal pores, the clitellum, and the setae. Image C shows the mouth, the prostomium and the peristomium, the female genital pores, the male genital pore. Now, what are the differences between the lampetomority and metaphore posthuma? Serial number, characters, lampetomority, metaphore posthuma. Shape and size, if you take the lampetomority is cylindrical in shape, about 80 to 210 mm in length, 3.5 mm to 5 mm in width. Whereas metaphore posthuma is cylindrical, 115 to 130 mm in length, 5 mm in width. Coloration, light brown is lampeto and dark brown is metaphore. Segmentation, 165 to 190 segments is lampeto and about 140 segments is metaphore. Clitellum is from the 14th to 17th segment, which consists of the 4 segments, whereas the metaphore posthuma has 14 to 16 segments, which are 3 in number. Spermathecal openings, 3 pairs between 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and 8 to 9, whereas in metaphore there are 4 pairs, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and 8 to 9. The pharynx from the 3rd to 4th segment is lampeto, whereas runs up to the 4th segment. Esophagus, 5th segment, whereas in metaphore is in 8th segment. Gizzard is in the 6th segment in lampeto, whereas in metaphore it is 8th to 9th segment. Intestine from the 7th segment to the anus, whereas in metaphor it is 15th segment to the anus. Intestinal ceca are absent in lampeto, whereas they are present in the 26th segment in metaphor. Lateral hearts, 8 pairs in lampeto from 16 to 13 segment, whereas in metaphor 3 pairs from 7 to 9 segments. Pharyngeal nephridia, 5th to 9th segment in lampeto, whereas in metaphor it is 4th to 6th segment. Micronephridia start from 14th to the last segment in lampeto, whereas in metaphor is 7th to the last segment. Meganephridia starts from the 19th to the last segment, whereas in metaphor is 15th to the last segment. Male genital pore is present in the 18th segment in both the worms. The female genital pore is present in the 14th segment in both the worms. Now let us go on to the anatomy of the earthworm. The body wall of the earthworm is very moist, thin, soft, skinny, elastic, and consists of the cuticle, epidermis, muscles, and coelomic epithelium. The epidermis consists of the supporting cells, gland cells, basal cells, and sensory cells. A spacious body cavity called the coelom is seen between the alimentary canal and the body wall. The coelom consists of the coelomic fluid and serves as the hydrostatic skeleton, in which the coelomocytes are known to play a major role in the regeneration, immunity, and wound healing. The coelomic fluid of the earthworm is milky and alkaline, which consists of granulocytes or ileocytes, amoebocytes, mucocytes, and leukocytes. Now let us move on to the digestive system. The digestive system of the earthworm consists of the alimentary canal and the digestive glands. The alimentary canal runs as a straight tube throughout the length of the body from the mouth to the anus. The mouth opens into the buccal cavity, which occupies the first and the second segments. The buccal cavity leads into a thick muscular pharynx, which occupies the third and the fourth segments and is surrounded by the pharyngeal glands. A small narrow tube called the esophagus lies in the fifth segment and continues into a muscular gizzard in the sixth segment. The gizzard helps in the grinding of the soil particles and decaying leaves. Intestine starts from the seventh segment and continues till the last segment. The dorsal wall of the intestine is folded into the cavity as the typhlosole. This fold contains blood vessels and increases the absorptive area of the intestine. The inner epithelium consists of columnar cells and glandular cells. The alimentary canal opens to the exterior through the anus. The ingested organic rich soil passes through the digestive tract, where the digestive enzymes break down the complex food into smaller absorbable units. The simpler molecules are absorbed through the intestinal membrane and are utilized. The undigested particles along with the earth are passed out through the anus as worm castings or wormic casts. The pharyngeal or the salivary gland cells and the glandular cells of the intestine are supposed to be the digestive glands which secrete the digestive enzymes for digestion of food. Here you can see the digestive system of Lampetomoriti, where you can see the mouth, the buccal cavity, the pharynx, the pharyngeal glands, the esophagus, the gizzard and the intestine which passes out through the anus. The intestinal ceca. In Metaphyr posthuma, the 26th segment has a pair of short conical outgrowths called the intestinal cecae. It is extended anteriorly up to the 22nd segment. These are digestive glands and secrete an amylolytic enzyme for the digestion of starch. Intestinal cecae are not present in many species of earthworms such as the Lampetomoriti. Here you can see the uses of the hydrostatic skeleton to crawl in the earthworm. The earthworm normally crawls with the help of their body muscles, setae and buccal chamber. The outer circular and the inner longitudinal muscle layers lie below the epidermis of the body wall. The contraction of the circular muscles makes the body long and narrow, while that of the longitudinal muscles makes the body short and broad. The locomotion of the earthworm is brought about by the contraction and relaxation of the muscular body wall and aided by the turgence of the coelomic fluid, hence called the hydrostatic skeleton. The alternate waves of extension and contraction are aided by the leverage afforded by the buccal chamber and the setae. In the image on the left side, you can see the longitudinal muscles when they are relaxed and the circular muscles are contracted, the body becomes narrow and extended. When the circular muscles are relaxed and the longitudinal muscles are contracted, the body becomes increased in size and shorter. In the image, you can see the movement of the earthworm of the various segments. Now, let us move on to the respiratory system. The earthworm has no special respiratory organs like the lungs or gills. Respiration takes place through the body wall. The outer surface of the skin is richly supplied with blood capillaries which aid in the diffusion of gases. Oxygen diffuses through the skin into the blood while carbon dioxide from the blood diffuses out. The skin is kept moist by mucus and coelomic fluid and facilitates exchange of gases. Now the circulatory system, Lampetomoriti exhibits a closed type of blood vascular system consisting of blood vessels, capillaries and lateral hearts. Two median longitudinal vessels run above and below the alimentary canal as dorsal and ventral vessels of the earthworm. There are paired valves in the dorsal vessels which prevent the backward flow of the blood. The ventral vessel has no valves and is non-contractile, allowing the backward flow of the blood. In the anterior part of the body, the dorsal vessel is connected with the ventral vessel by 8 pairs of commissural vessels or the lateral hearts, lying in the 6th to the 13th segments. These vessels run in either side of the alimentary canal and pump the blood from the dorsal vessel to the ventral vessel. The dorsal vessel receives blood from various organs in the body. The ventral vessel supplies blood to the various organs. Blood glands are present in the anterior segments of the earthworm. They produce blood cells and hemoglobin, which is dissolved in the plasma and gives red color to the blood. Here you can see the circulatory system of Lampetomoriti, where we have a dorsal vessel, we have a ventral vessel, and the dorsal and the ventral vessels are connected by the lateral hearts. Now let us move on to the nervous system. The bilobed mass of the nervous tissue called the suprapharyngeal ganglia lies on the dorsal wall of the pharynx in the 3rd segment and is referred as a brain. The ganglion found below the pharynx in the 4th segment is called the subpharyngeal ganglion. The brain and the subpharyngeal ganglia are connected by a pair of circumpharyngeal connectives. They run one on each side of the pharynx. Thus, a nerve ring is formed around the anterior region of the alimentary canal. The double ventral nerve cord runs backward from the subpharyngeal ganglion. The brain, along with other nerves in the ring, integrates sensory inputs and command muscular responses of the body. In the image of the limbic nervous system, you can see the brain, the ventral nerve cord, which runs on the ventral side. The earthworm's receptors are stimulated by a group of slender columnar cells connected with nerves. The photoreceptors, which are responsible for the sense of light, are found on the dorsal surface of the body. The gustatory receptors, which are responsible for the sense of taste, and olfactory receptors, which are responsible for the sense of smell, are found in the buccal cavity. Tactile receptors, which are responsible for the sense of touch, chemoreceptors detect the chemical changes, and the thermoreceptors, which detect the changes in the temperature, are present in the prostomium and the body wall. Here you can see the receptors in the earthworm. Left side A is the epidermal receptors, B is the photoreceptors, and C is the buccal receptors. How do the earthworms sense activity in their habitat without eyes, ears, or nose? They have no ears, yet can sense the vibrations of sound. They have no nose, yet can smell and taste which foods to eat. The earthworm's skin provides a sense of touch. Although earthworms have no eyes, ears, and nose, they have all the senses they need to move towards food, shelter, and away from danger. Now let us move on to the excretory system. Excretion is the process of elimination of the metabolic waste products from the body. In earthworm, excretion is effected by segmentally arranged minute coiled paired tubules called nephridia. There are three types of nephridia. Pharyngeal or tufted nephridia, present as paired tufts in the 5th to the 9th segments. Micronephridia or integumentary nephridia, attached to the lining of the body wall from the 14th segment to the last, which open on the body surface. Meganephridia or septal nephridia, present as a pair in both sides of intersegmental septa of the 19th segment to the last and open into the intestine. In the image on the right side, you can see the pharyngeal nephridia. You can see the structure of the pharyngeal nephridia, the micronephridia. You can see the structure of the micronephridia, and the meganephridia. You can see the structure of the meganephridia. The meganephridium has an internal funnel-like opening called the nephrostome, which is fully ciliated. The nephrostome is in the preceding segment and the rest of the tube is in the succeeding segment. This tube consists of three distinct divisions: the ciliated, the glandular, and the muscular region. The waste material connected to the ciliated funnel is pushed into the muscular part of the nephridium by the ciliated region. The glandular part extracts the waste from the blood, and finally the waste exit out through the nephridiospore. Besides the nephridia, special cells on the coelomic wall of the intestine called chloragogen cells are present. They extract the nitrogenous waste from the blood of the intestinal wall into the body cavity to be sent out through the nephridia. Here you can see the image of the septal nephridium of the earthworm. It has a nephrostome, it has a neck, it has a twisted loop, it has a straight loop with ciliated canals, and it has a terminal duct which opens out to the nephridiospore. You can see the chloragogen cell where it has a ectoplasm, endoplasm, cell membrane, a nucleus, a food vacuole, a contractile vacuole, and the pseudopods. Now let us move on to the reproductive system. Earthworms are hermaphrodites or monoecious, that is, male and female reproductive organs are found in the same individual. Self-fertilization is avoided between the two sex organs mature at different times, which means the sperm develops earlier than the production of the ova. So such are called protandrous. Thus, cross-fertilization takes place. In the male reproductive system, two pairs of testes are present in the 10th and the 11th segments. The testes give rise to the germ cells or spermatogonia, which develops into spermatozoa in two pairs of seminal vesicles. Two pairs of seminal funnels called ciliary rosettes are situated in the same segments as the testes. The ciliated funnels of the same side are connected to a long tube called the vas deferens. The vas deferentia run up to the 18th segment where they open to the exterior through the male genital pore. The male genital aperture contains two pairs of pineal setae for copulation. A pair of prostate glands lies in the 18th and the 19th segment. The secretion of the prostate gland serves to cement the spermatozoa into bundles known as spermatophores. The female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries lying in the 13th segment. Each ovary has finger-like projections which contain ova in linear series. Ovarian funnels are present beneath the ovaries which continue into the oviducts. They open as a pair of genital apertures on the ventral side of the 14th segment. Spermathecae or seminal receptacles are 3 pairs lying in the segments 7th, 8th and 9th, opening to the exterior on the ventral side between the 6th and 7th, 7th and 8th and 8th and 9th segments. They receive spermatozoa from the partner and stored during copulation. Here you can see the reproductive system of Lampetomoriti. You can see the testis, the seminal funnel, the seminal vesicles, the vas deferens, the prostate gland, the parts of the male reproductive system. In the female reproductive system, you have the ovary, the oviduct, the spermathecae, which receives the sperm. You can see the pineal setae, which is part of the male reproductive system on the right side. A mutual exchange of sperms occurs between the two worms during mating. One worm has to find another worm and they mate juxtaposingly opposite the gonadal openings, exchanging the sperms. Here you can see the copulation of the earthworm in a juxtaposing opposite manner. Mature egg cells in the nutritive fluid are deposited in the cocoons produced by the gland cells of the clitellum, which also collects the partner's sperms from the spermathecae. Fertilization and development occurs within the cocoons, which are deposited in the soil. After about 2 to 3 weeks, each cocoon produces baby earthworms. Development is direct and no larva is formed during development. Regeneration. Earthworms have most of their important organ in the first 20 segments. If earthworm gets cut after the 20th segment, the anterior half can regenerate, while the posterior half shall disintegrate after some time. In the image below, you can see the section after the 25th segment where the proximal portion can regenerate on form the new segments. Life cycle. Lampetomoriti begins its life cycle from the fertilized eggs. The eggs are held in a protective cocoon. These cocoons have an incubation period of about 14 to 18 days, after which they hatch to release the juveniles. The juveniles undergo changes into non-clitellate forms in phase 1 after about 15 days, and later they develop a clitellum called the clitellate form at the end of the growth phase 2, taking 15 to 17 days to complete. During the reproductive stage, earthworms copulate and later shed their cocoons in the soil after about 10 days. The life cycle of Lampetomoriti takes about 60 days to complete. Here you can see in the image the life cycle of Lampetomoriti, where the cocoons are deposited in the soil. After incubation of about 15 days, the juveniles are formed in growth phase 1 between 14 to 18 days, and after the few days, the juveniles develop into the non-clitellate forms, and the non-clitellate forms develops in the clitellate forms in the growth phase 2 between the 15 to 17 days, and these clitellate forms mature themselves and attain the reproductive period, and the cocoon formation occurs after about 10 days. So today, in organ and organ systems in animals part 1, we discussed about the introduction to the earthworm, morphology and anatomy of the earthworm, the digestive system, the respiratory system, the circulatory system, the nervous system, the excretory system, reproductive system, the regeneration of the earthworm, and the life cycle of the earthworm. So thank you. Kindly subscribe, like, share and comment to channel ReadMedPrep Academy. Kindly register for UG and PG NEET type MCQs on our website www.readmedprepacademy.com. Our Facebook ID is ReadMedPrep Academy. Our email is readmedprepacademy@gmail.com. Our Instagram is ReadMedPrep Academy. Kindly post your questions in the comment box. We will reply with appropriate answers. Thank you very much.